G is for... From as early in my life as I can remember, I've played video games. And to say that they have not shaped me, and who I am, would be a lie. In this video, I want to take you guys down the TubsyTub timeline, perchance, and mansplain some of the games that shaped me. So, let's go back to where it started. If you recognize this theme, then you already know what game I'm talking about. Club Penguin. I'm talking puffles, penguins, pizza, sledding, surfing, socialization, flipping through the catalogue, clicking suspicious elements to find the secret shop pages, cannons, card jitsu, and of course, coins, baby. It's January the 17th, 2011. Little me was on the way home from school, and that day was the day I had been waiting for, the release of the brown puffle, which just happened to align with my computer day. So, what did I do? I simply had to be an annoying little twerp to my brothers, as I was the one who got the honour of getting the brown puffle first. Mum, however, did not like this attitude, subsequently stripping me of my computer access that afternoon. I cried. I pleaded, to no avail. So, left with no other choice, a plan hatched in my mind. Setting an alarm for 3 AM, I retired to bed early. When I awoke, I tiptoed down the hall into the spare room and booted up our Windows 7 family computer. I logged into clubpenguin.com. I followed the quest for the brown puffle. Baby, I got him. I got him. He was mine. I was the first one. Me. But not 5 minutes later, I hear a disturbance in the kitchen. Someone was up, and whoever was up would surely notice the vibrant blue screen light pouring out from underneath the spare room door. And they did. Panicking as footsteps approached, I hit the power button on top of the PC. As the door handle turned, my heart practically pounded out of my chest as I threw myself onto the spare bed to assume the sleeping pose. As my mum walked into the room, it must have been a truly sorry sight. The computer with the shutting down screen vividly displayed, and my sorry ass half on and half off the bed, chest obviously panting from panic and exertion after trying to get onto the bed quickly. When she asked what I thought I was doing, I confessed everything. I'm a bad criminal. The whole plan, the panic, the guilt, I told her everything. And as punishment, I wasn't allowed on the computer for a whole week. A pretty big deal for me back then. A little later in 2011, my older brother came home from school one day and bought a game his friends had been talking about. Minecraft. Minecraft has single-handedly been the most influential game in my life, and it's strange to think that when I was introduced to it, I just was not interested in it at all for nearly like 6 months. This all changed when we got an Xbox 360 and began playing split-screen Xbox 360 edition Minecraft before Microsoft had acquired Mojang. We invested hours upon hours exploring all the tutorial worlds and building bases on our world we named First World FTW. I still name all of my first worlds First World FTW. It's become a sort of tradition for me, I suppose. Later, I primarily played on the home computer and discovered public multiplayer servers. There were two particular servers that I frequented from 2013 to about 2016. One was called Edawg878.com, and the other was the Shotbow Network. Edawg878 was a large creative plot server, which encouraged building, visiting other people's plots, and role-playing. I remember the first plot I ever built to completion was a carnival. It had a working roller coaster and a teacup ride and a maze. And later I built another plot, which was an art museum / community center, which had art exhibits, so the paintings, and then I'd get people to come in and build their own sculptures for certain sections, which was pretty cool. It also had a office area in the building and an indoor basketball court, which was pretty cool. Edawg878 had a TeamSpeak server. TeamSpeak was sort of the Discord before Discord existed. It was in the era where Skype was a thing, but Skype didn't really have servers, they just had friends. So TeamSpeak allowed everyone to join just one server and then voice chat with everyone all at once. And through Edawg878's TeamSpeak server, I made my first ever long-term gaming friend, Wandering Bunny. We met around late 2014. We would just build together and chat, have fun. She's now known as Vasternous. She's an artist. Very good artist. She did a little sketch of me a few years back. I say a few years back, it must have been like 5 or 6 years now. But I have her socials down below if you want to check her out and her stuff. Pretty sure she made a famous TikTok video at one point, which is pretty cool. I also ended up dating her sister years later, permanently scarring our friendship. But I'm not going to get into that. Onward, the Shotbow Network. It was a sort of mini-game hub that included multiple different games. It was like a zombie survival and whatnot. But my favorite game was a game called Wasted, where you would venture out into a post-apocalyptic open-world map with cities and towns to find guns, ammo, and money. I remember you could ride pigs, chickens, and cows, sort of as like stand-ins for cars, motorcycles, and trucks. Like they went different speeds and had different amounts of health and whatnot. There were shops in the major cities that sold the rarer items like armors and some of the more powerful guns. But if you wanted to get the real good stuff, you had to go to one of the server-wide announced airdrop locations, which could be one of two things. It could be loot or it could be a mech suit. That's right. It was an iron golem that you could ride and shoot this machine gun that insta-kills stuff, and a rocket launcher as well. You'd have limited ammo and rockets, but man, you could like jump super far as well. It was really cool. In the item airdrops though, you'd be able to get stuff like Kevlar armor and rocket launchers and heavy machine guns. And also jetpacks. I remember those were really, really interesting. Because it's an American server and I was in Australia, it was very laggy a lot of the time. So whenever I did get a jetpack, I would usually die by fall damage. Unfortunately, these servers are now husks of their former selves. The only evidence of Wasted even existing now is through a handful of videos scattered around YouTube, but man, I was obsessed with that game mode. It was so good. I still play Minecraft, though not nearly as frequently as I once did. A lot of people seem to share the same sentiment that Minecraft has become overplayed. And the only way to really enjoy it nowadays is to have the yearly 2-week phase where you just play it obsessively before getting bored again. I feel like my phase is about to come up now. For Christmas at the end of 2012, after begging my mum and dad, I received the first season of The Walking Dead on DVD. I watched it all in one sitting on my portable DVD player, sipping from a 1-litre bottle of Lipton peach iced tea to cope with the adrenaline. It was my first time experiencing the zombie apocalypse genre, or the apocalypse genre in general, and I was so into it. I made a zombie apocalypse emergency plan, I researched the best equipment for life in the apocalypse, I put together a go bag of supplies to help survive. You know, like classic teenage make-believe. The next Christmas, at the end of 2013, DayZ released. It was a standalone version of an Arma 2 mod. Arma 2 or Arma 3? It was Arma 2. Arma 2. I had watched Frankie on PC in 1080p, the YouTuber. I'd watched him playing it on YouTube. I only had my school-provided laptop at that time, so I got the absolute pleasure of playing in a solid 13 frames per second, if I remember correctly. I think that was actually 13 frames per second I was playing this game. But that never stopped my enthusiasm. Now, serious mode. Through this game, I discovered a major weakness within myself. I had to learn how to overcome it if I wanted to enjoy multiplayer survival PvP games like it in the future. And that weakness? Empathy. I discovered I was not a psychopath who could just shoot a stranger. Anytime I was presented with a perfect opportunity to strike first in DayZ, iron sights lined up with some guy's head who had way better gear than me, I always had a thought come to my mind. Whoever this person is that I am looking at, they have spent hours of their life gathering all this gear. I would put myself in their shoes and decide that to kill them would be cruel and unethical. Because of this, it got me killed so many times. I guess I just wanted to be a hero rather than a villain. That's always been a thing with me in any game where you can roleplay as whatever you want. But through DayZ, I made another lifelong gaming friend. He was a New Zealander, a Kiwi, named Nagaroth. There's even a solid chance that he's watching right now, in which case, hey Sixy.
Yep. Louis, get trained on the door. Fuck, he threw a flashbang!
In 2013, my best friend introduced me to a game called Counter-Strike Global Offensive. There really isn't much to say about this game, other than it being my first introduction to competitive games and first-person shooters, and also every parent's worst nightmare for their 13-year-old child, gambling.
Golden AK. Boom. Gold and AK. Golden AK. Golden AK. Golden AK, please, please, please. Nikita. Oh, please! Something crazy!
Yes, that's right. Tubsy Tub, the teenage gambler. When I figured out that I could open crates in this game to get expensive skins, or at least the chance to get them, as an impressionable young teenager, they had me hooked by the ass. This led to some sticky situations for me. Buying Steam Wallet funds using my parents' credit cards without asking, I figured out that it was way easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. My parents are on top of their money though, so knew exactly when I did it and punished the hell out of me, as they should have. By the age of 15, I began betting skins on third-party gambling sites. Legally, I was not 18. I think I was 14 or 15 at the time of this. I actually ended up getting relatively successful betting on professional esports matches. I remember I got up to a $44 M4A4 Asimov from just a handful of 20-cent skins I had from opening crates back in the day. I felt unbeatable. The dopamine was just flowing uncontrollably in my teenage brain. I was doing research into all the teams and how they play, how they've versed each other in the past and success rates and whatnot. And I was actually managing to predict outcome after outcome. And then one day a match came up and I bet my Asimov skin. That was the culmination of all the gambling I had done up till that point. And I lost it. The punch to the throat I felt that day, I will never forget. As many of you are well aware, to this day, the loot box system plagues the gaming industry despite frequently updated rules and regulations, legal rules and regulations, by governments. Major game publishers like EA and Ubisoft come to mind immediately, but they just constantly find loopholes to get around it. It's just so... It infuriates me, the fact that it's still a thing. Basically taking advantage of addicted teenagers is just... It just shouldn't have ever been a thing in the first place. Let's move on before I get too passionately vocal about this particular topic. So on to the next one. Flashbang. You may have noticed that all of the games I've mentioned so far are more multiplayer oriented. For as long as I can remember, I've been the kind of person that wants to show off what and how I'm doing, to compare myself to others in real time. That's why I enjoyed competitive shooters with the scoreboard, leaderboard to show where I'm at in comparison to everyone else, and also creative games where I can build or loot or survive or all three better than everyone else online on a server. I feel that my desire to be the center of the spotlight, so to speak, is pretty core to my personality. It's who I am. So when a game changes my perception of gaming itself, it's quite big for me. This last game I want to talk about showed me that I can enjoy a game that isn't competitive, that doesn't necessarily put me in the spotlight, but story-driven and rich in atmosphere. I've played a meager handful of story-based games in my time, but none have resonated with me so deeply as Pacific Drive. The game is a first-person, story-driven survival game that is based in an alternate reality where testing with experimental technology in the 70s left a walled-off section of the Olympic Peninsula a warped, infested, and ever-changing time capsule called the Exclusion Zone. With an anomalous car as your only companion, you slowly discover the history and the secrets of the zone with the help of incoming radio calls from the only locals that stayed behind after the evacuation, NPCs in the game. The story itself is good, but the atmosphere is insane. The sound design, the environment, the art style, and the ever-present feeling of being watched. This game fully captured my imagination for the 3 weeks I spent playing it. It took me about 50 hours to get from beginning to end, taking it slow and soaking everything in, and by the time I reached the finale, I still had more that I could explore if I wanted. I also managed to get all the achievements in the game to 100% in one run, so no repeats needed, essentially. Since I last played, there have been some amazing quality of life changes, stuff that I was iffy about in my playthrough that have just been overhauled or completely changed. There's also new challenge modes to experience. There's also a permadeath mode, which I'm interested in. And also a few cosmetic DLCs that you can purchase just to support the developers, which is pretty cool. No, I am not sponsored. But there is a solid chance that you've never heard of this game, and that saddens me deeply. Because it almost instantly became one of my favorite games of all time. Up there with Minecraft for sure. I highly recommend you buy it. Grab yourself a cup of tea, close your curtains, dim your lights, maybe have a biscuit or two. Maybe like a chocolate-covered digestive biscuit. I'm hungry now. Just immerse yourself. Get into it. It is worth it. You are currently watching the seventh attempt to make this video. With each attempt at making the video, the vision I originally had slowly faded away. I rapidly lost confidence in a cycle of writing and re-recording, failing, feeling downtrodden, procrastinating for a week, and restarting. I procrastinated a lot. Stardew Valley, Tarkov, and Battlefront 2. Get him! Get him! Yes! God, that was sick! No!
Tubsy, there's someone behind you.
No, there's
Spike
not.
planted. Last player standing.
Rain is
Nice.
down.
It's okay, guys. I got this. Don't even worry about it.
Careful now. Going up.
How is it that every time you say that, you immediately fucking cock it? That's so funny.
Sounds like A.
Shot down.
Spike down A.
Now we're cooking. Dip beacon here. That's 3.
My God, 8.
One enemy remaining.
Oh! Until I left it for a couple of weeks and restarted the entire thing fully from scratch. And that is why this video has taken over a month to make. thank you so much for waiting and for watching. You can join my Discord, link in the description. Hopefully, you'll see me again in less than a month. Goodbye.